Welcome to Breaking the Lines Pod. I'm Arland.
My name is Akeem, and this is a Premier League podcast.
All right, man. Match week 25. They're going by quickly now, it feels like. How are you doing?
Yes, sir. What, 13 more match weeks ago? Or 12?
13.
Yeah, man. Damn. I almost finished the season already, but a good one, bro. A good one for both of us with some good goals obviously involved. So I'll take it and go.
Yeah, absolutely. First up was that Friday game, which we haven't had one in a while. Kind of nice, to be honest. I honestly didn't get to watch it. I was traveling, but Leeds 3-1 victory kind of stumped both of us. Neither of us gave it to them.
Yeah, and actually a comfortable game based on how it went for Leeds, to be honest with you, because the goals came like 5 or 6 minutes apart in the first half, so it kind of killed the game, and then they scored in the second half, and Forest kind of um Calvert scored like a really, I would say like a striker's goal, just creeping in and deflected off him. And then, yeah, Forrest gets like a consolation goal in like the 80 plus minutes. So it was a comfortable win for Leeds. Well done to them. Chelsea plays them tomorrow, as we know. So yeah, they're on the uprise now. So it'd be interesting to kind of see how that goes.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, man. Leeds has been an interesting team this season, but very impressive victory when you look at it on paper, right? I mean, puts 3 points in between them and Forest. Forest on 26, Leeds on 29. So kind of pushes Forest down towards West Ham a bit. I know we'll talk about Spurs probably in the next round, but they're level on points with Spurs now in that relegation battle down there. So very interesting result. I was happy Calvert-Lewin got the goal. Having him in
Yeah.
fantasy, obviously, I had a pretty decent week in fantasy, so I was happy about that. But very good result. I didn't necessarily see Leeds. Not that I didn't see them winning. I just thought that two teams that are kind of in the same fight. I thought it'd be a tighter game. That kind of surprised me, but
The goals, like I said, in the first half coming so quick, I would say kind of killed it
mhm,
from watching it. So that's what, as you know, in football nowadays. So it was a lot more comfortable, I think, than Leeds had imagined the game would be, and anyone had with the quick goals. So yeah, but credit to them, like we've said, it kind of put distance between them and Forest. Forest now being only 3 points in front of West Ham. So
yeah. It's gonna be an interesting race down there, man. 13 games left. A lot can happen. I think some might be decided already, but I think there's still maybe a place that's still kind of up for grabs down there. So we'll see.
I think it's interesting between West Ham and whoever right there because as you know they've spent a little bit in the winter transfer window and picked up a clean sheet, a win against Burnley. I know it's Burnley, but it's still like what it did for Forest, create that separation for them as well. So only three
Yeah,
points behind Forest, and I'm guessing that they probably still have Forest to play. And Forest is going to drop points also with West Ham, as we know, for the rest of the season. So it just makes it interesting, like you said.
well, that takes us into Saturday morning, the 7:30 that you and I were so happy to see on the sheet here, and it was a good game. I enjoyed waking up for it. I enjoyed the watch. I thought United played well before the red card and after as well. I kind of relayed this one back to the Everton game when Everton went down to 10 men, and I think that was at Old Trafford as well. I think that it was a good kind of reference point to see United then and United now. And I mean, Spurs went down to 10 and didn't really offer anything after that. I mean, United pegged them back kind of in their final third the rest of the game, and I think Spurs broke out of that pressure maybe once or twice, and I think probably generated a shot on goal once. But overall, I mean, I was impressed by United's play, how they kind of took the game to Spurs. I felt for Spurs a little bit just because of the red card. I thought it was like a silly red card, to be honest, and kind of just, threw the team under the bus and they had to deal with 10 men at Old Trafford and a revived United team under Michael Carrick.
Yeah, I think it's good that you said that United were the better team before the red card as well. So I do agree with that, and I do also agree with the fact that I think it was just a silly red card. I remember talking to my brother-in-law about it when it happened while watching the game, and yeah, it's just like Romero. I remember being a Chelsea fan, just remembering the same tackle he did with Caicedo in the box in that game, that end game a couple seasons ago with the High Line. I don't know if you remember, where Jackson scored like a hat trick, I believe.
Mhm.
And also the commentator saying that's his sixth red card since like what 2021 or something. So yeah, I think it's just for someone being a captain, it's silly. Yeah, United were by far the better team before everything, but at the same time, like you said, it just kind of leaves your team like stranded, especially being the captain. And it's considering the time in the game and where the tackle was made, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and the fact that the tackle itself, I mean, it wasn't like a, we see some of these red card tackles where it's I don't wanna say accidental because I don't wanna say he did it on purpose.
Bro, I told my brother-in-law that referee had that red card out, but while the tackle was being made, that referee had the red card out. And it's the quickest red card I've ever seen in the Premier League, bro. He 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 had the red card out not even a second after he called that. Like he
Yeah,
literally knew that was a red card. And it's like watching it, you gave us no excuse, like you said. Like, mate, that is just silly. You're a captain. Like that is crazy. That's just poor.
yeah, yeah, I mean, it's tough to really kind of add on to that. Good goals, good goal by
Yeah.
Mbeumo off of, the corner there, and then, it was getting towards the end of the game, and it was only 1-0, and I always every weekend I put in a couple different parlays, and I always put in one where I'll do, like, 5 or 6 players to score or assist, and, I had Calvert-Lewin for the Leeds game, which obviously hit, and then for this game, I had Bruno, and, you know, I was, like, hoping that, he can get an assist or score somehow, and then, he ended up scoring, so I was hyped after that. I thought it might have been offside initially, but he was well onside. Very good display. Impressed again by, I think, I'd say Casemiro in the midfield for United and Kobe Mainu as well. I know United dominated the game, but just kind of impressed to see how they work off each other. I was talking to my dad, who's a United fan, before we recorded, and I was just kind of reiterating with him the fact that everyone was kind of on this bandwagon that Ruben Amorim had Bruno kind of playing out of position, which hurt him and hurt the team. But I think that also hurt. A lot of people don't realize this. I think it also hurt Casemiro as well because, like, it's very evident that he doesn't have the legs that he used to have, right? And I think putting Bruno in there, who might, you know, might not necessarily have the same legs defensively, might kind of wander at times because of his natural kind of position that he plays. So I think that ultimately kind of had Casemiro covering more ground in the midfield. So I think now that he has a true midfield partner, he's not having to cover as much ground as he did before. And you see less gaps in that United midfield. So impressed by that and kind of excited to see where this United team ends up. I know they're on a high 4 in a row now, which I don't even know the last time they did that, but let's see. Let's see where this takes them.
Yeah, good victory for them. I think it was a good performance from them on the day, like you said, before the red card and took advantage of the red card. And even though the second goal came a bit late in the game, still, comparing to where they're coming from, like we said, with Ruben, I think it's still a plus for them. So yeah, in front of us right now, obviously also a good weekend for both of us because Liverpool and Villa dropping points. So yeah, I'm sure United is looking upwards at the moment based on form and trying to see if they can finish in those European places to end the season.
Yeah, I mean, 3 points behind Villa, so, who would have thought a few weekends ago that that's where they'd find themselves after match week 25? But we'll see. We'll see kind of how they progress. Uh, they have West Ham this weekend, away to West Ham, which I don't think will be, as easy as it looks on paper. I think it'll be difficult for them, but we'll see kind of how they fare after that. Next up, Bournemouth Villa, a game that both you and I gave to Bournemouth 2-1, the both of us. Ended up being 1-1. I think Villa got the first goal in this one, and then Bournemouth got the equalizer in the second half. I didn't watch the game, but just kind of looking back and the momentum and the stats, it looks like Bournemouth kind of had more of the momentum in the game throughout the game than Villa did.
Yeah, Villa's been playing like that. I mean, if you remember on the last pod, it's not that I'm not giving them credit for what they're doing, but I'm also kind of, I guess, seeing the downfall, I guess, come in. Well, from the outside point of view, and that could be from me wanting Chelsea also to move up and to finish in the European places. But yeah, they've averaged probably one of the lowest XG in the Prem this season. They weren't really necessarily creating a lot or anything. So I think, as the Prem goes, team kind of adapt and figure people out and stuff like that. So I think it's just maybe one of the. It could have been just one of those games as well because they could win. I don't know who they play this weekend coming up, and then go on and win or run against. Let's see. Like we said, but haven't been really dominating games or teams, so it's kind of expected or it was coming if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the lowest XG because, after this game, I saw the XG, Twitter page posted, their last few results, and all year, I think they've been posting about how they're really outperforming their XG and kind of outperforming their league position, and I think they posted that to kind of show that, the XG always kind of evens out ultimately. So it's interesting to see the run of form that they're on. I mean, I think both you and I, not to say that we were hating on them in any way or anything like that, but I think we kind of said that we expect them to kind of taper off a little bit, and I think we're seeing it now. It's just if they can hang on and kind of stay in that top 4, I think I'm gonna make a bold prediction, and maybe not so bold, but I feel like they're not gonna finish in the top 4.
Listen, they've also spent, and we have to give them that credit. I mean, they had the assist this weekend. It was from James Sancho, Morgan Rogers. So they have the team. I would say probably the first 11 for it, but when it comes to the squad, especially when it gets to these tighter part in the season. So let's see how they go. Let's see. They've done well so far, and I'm sure they've done better than we both predicted. So with that being said, we also can't rule them out,
Yeah.
but I also do think that they will fall out of the top 4, but they've surprised us this season, so I'm not gonna just rule them out.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the Arsenal Sunderland game and 3-0 victory for Arsenal. A little bit wider margins than you and I thought. I had 2-0 and you had 3-1. So I guess a mix of our result there would have been the correct result, but fairly decent game I thought from Arsenal. Did have a couple scares in the first half where just a couple blunders at the back and Sunderland could have easily seen themselves go up 1-0, possibly even 2 because I think there was another one afterwards, but ultimately I think just kind of proved to be too much. We saw that kind of, I think, Havertz influence, just more of a physical presence in that area there, especially in the transition, which you wouldn't think because of the pace, but I think just his kind of physicality and helps us kind of get out, and kind of attack teams quicker. I think Odegaard has a sense of like maybe holding on to the ball too much in the initial phase of the attack, but um, I think that he played well. I think everyone kind of played well, to be honest. Zubimendi had a great goal. I don't know if you got a chance to see it, but kind of, not an easy finish, but just let the ball kind of almost come across his body, but then strike it across his body, kind of in the opposite. So it was a good goal to break sort of the deadlock there, and then Gyökeres comes on and gets a brace, and obviously great for him in terms of his confidence and everything. And I think I read after the game that he's the most transferred in player. It was like 200,000 fantasy players transferred him in after that. So we know he won't be scoring next week for sure. But yeah, I thought good game overall. Obviously, important 3 points. A good response to drawing Sunderland away earlier in the season. I was kind of eager to see how Arteta set the team up and how the team responded after that, knowing that Sunderland gave him a good game the first time around. But they come out on top this time.
Yeah, like you said, I think Havertz is just very influential for the team. Just one of those players that you can see since he's came back from injury that I mean, you guys still doing well, but that you need him, you know what I mean, in some of these games. And it just helps you, like you said, just to separate that difference from a team that you tied earlier in the season. And also a very physical team. I mean, like you said, in the game there's a couple instances before Arsenal took the lead and that what could have happened. I mean, it also happened, the week before against Manchester United with Zubimendi. So we've been seeing those, little mishaps from Arsenal. So as long as, like you said, it could have went that way and the game could have been something different, but a good finish from Zubimendi. I was able to catch it because of my brother-in-law. I didn't see this game in general, but my brother-in-law, it's funny because as soon as I got home, he asked me, and he's like, "Yeah, did you see the Arsenal goal?" And I was like, "No," but he's like, "Yeah, really good finish." He's like, one of those finishes, like, it's very difficult to finish. Like, it's like with the technique and whatnot. And yeah, I was able to check it out. Also saw the two Gyökeres goal. Like you said, finally, just like looking like Arsenal's playing a little bit more for the striker as the season progresses. So yeah, he's finding his goal, finding his form, and yeah, hopefully you see as this season ends now, he kind of probably kick on and help you guys finish with a lift in the Premier League title. So let's see how it goes though.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, absolutely. We'll see how it goes. Still a long way to go. I mean, like we said, 13 games. Um, I think there's gonna be a lot of interesting games to come up and a lot of football to be played still. But moving on down the list here, Burnley West Ham. Um, Another game that I was sort of disappointed in Burnley. I thought they would score at least 1 being at home. I know I gave it to West Ham 2-1, but, I was just waiting for a Burnley goal, and, I mean, that could be because I had both teams to score in this game, but I think this game I don't wanna say this game solidifies kind of them going down because I think that, they will go down, and I don't think this is the game, but I think this is the type of game that if they wanted to have a real shot at staying up, these are the type of games that they kind of have to win and get points from. And I think when you lose to, the team who's in 18th, 1 place above you, and you kind of fail to make that ground and the gap gets wider, I think it just kind of is another nail in the coffin.
Yeah, like we said earlier this season, these are like 6 pointers. So, 3 points away from your opponents and you gain 3 points as well. So for them not to do that, and especially them being behind West Ham, I mean, for West Ham, you could still see the up if they had lost, you know what I mean? But for them being behind West Ham, like you said, just kind of for me also solidified them going down, especially with the form that we've kind of seen. I wouldn't say that they've been great, but we've seen that West Ham with the signings and stuff, or maybe finding form, and it's going to make it interesting between them, Forest, and possibly Spurs, like we said there. So let's see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think, obviously if there's a team that can kind of come out of there, it's going to be West Ham just because of their points that they have. We didn't really talk about this when we went over Tottenham, but I guess we can talk about it now. Interesting to see. I mean, I don't think Brighton just by their points total and them being, Brighton where, they'll win some surprise games between now and the end of the season. I think so everything down for Brighton, is weird, but seeing Spurs there, I mean, do we think that Spurs could possibly get relegated?
Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to get relegated. But I think 2 seasons in a row finishing so low in the Premier League definitely is a wake-up call for them. I don't think they're going to get relegated. I think it's going to be between Leeds. And I still think Leeds might pull through. So I still think it's going to be between Forest and West Ham there at the end. But like you said, a lot of football left to play and not much points. It totally, what, 6 points separating really Leeds, Forest, and West Ham there. So yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. I don't think Tottenham will get relegated though, but hey, something that would make both of our lives enjoyable.
Yeah, honestly, them or Forest. I mean, I feel like Forest always gives Arsenal trouble in the year, so I wouldn't mind Forest going down. But I honestly I knew that Spurs were down there, but to see that they're, only 6 points in front of West Ham is kind of like a surreal moment this late into the season. I don't know how.
I will give them a bit of grace only because with Liverpool losing this weekend as well, I think, remember, I mean, I don't know what pod it was. It's probably like 21 or something. But the Prem, I mean, it's now starting to shape up, obviously. But like we said a couple weeks back, it was like lose a game and you're 12. You know what I mean? So it's like obviously now, yeah, for Tottenham so late in the season, 25 match in, I'm not giving them an excuse, but with how the Prem was, I kind of understand where they are. I think they just 2 results and they'll probably move up, but not even probably, as you can see. But I'm looking at Everton right here, and let's go on based on just 2 wins. And 2 wins pretty much brings them. Obviously, these teams are going to have the opportunities with their 2 games as well. But that brings them what? Third, they're 29, so it brings them to 33, which is 12th place right now for Newcastle. So, I mean, obviously not a big jump, but for them, just for optics, you know what I mean? In terms of not finishing the season or 2 seasons in a row where you're kind of fighting relegation. But I still
Well,
think either way they'll be okay.
I'll tell you their next 2 opponents, which might make you rethink that. They play Newcastle at home on Tuesday, and then their next game in the Prem is Sunday hosting Arsenal.
Okay, so for the only one for that one I'll definitely give is Arsenal because I watch Newcastle. We're gonna talk about them. I don't know if we got the Newcastle Brentford yet, but we've been seeing Newcastle recently, so it's kind of You know what I mean? So yeah, I think for them, it those are the games that it could just be interesting. You know, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
call it either way, but for them, they have to make it interesting, at least pick up some points and kind of, especially like we said, 33 points, Newcastle being on 33 points now. So it would be kind of like what we just explained with the Burnley West Ham.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's keep going down the list. Next up, Fulham Everton. This was kind of a strange game. You predicted this one spot on, 2-1 for Everton. I actually thought Fulham would get something in this game. I thought, if they
Scored
weren't gonna win
first.
it,
They scored first.
yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, I actually thought that they were, 1-0, and I thought that they probably would see the game out, especially as it kept, going later and later in the game. Everton didn't get their goal until the 75th minute. So I was kind of hoping it would end in a draw. 1-1 is or 0-0 is what I had predicted. Drewsbury Hall got the goal, which was great. I actually brought him into. I think I never took him out of fantasy. I just had him on my bench, but I brought him into my 11, and I think he got like 10 points or something. So I was happy he got the goal, and then Everton get the second goal. Is, albeit it's a Leno own goal, but they come out on top, win the game, and get 3 points. And see themselves only 2 points behind their arch rivals Liverpool.
It was a good game. Obviously, for my boy Tyreek George making his debut, I'm kind of happy to see him get like a team in the Prem where he can play and kind of just be himself. And Ruby Hall coming also from my team, even though, only spending the season there. Yeah, it was a good game. The first goal was an okay goal from Fulham, and then obviously, like you said, everything kind of knowing them with David Moore just stayed in the game, only being one with it only being 1-0, and then getting those two goals there in the second half, just kind of to pick up the points, make it easier. I wasn't able to catch most of it, but I was able to I watched up until what, the 1-1, I believe, and then I saw the second goal on highlights. So yeah, I wasn't able to catch everything, but seemed like a good enough game.
Interesting from Fulham's perspective because I think you know they I think the last few match weeks we've kind of been giving them, I don't want to say, you know stick. They've had an interesting season. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Ups and downs, and I watch them sometimes, and I feel like they actually play decent football, but they just can't for some reason get results, and I think that's probably the story of their season. They have some
But
nice.
But to give them grace, like we were just saying about Spurs, it's the same thing. I know Spurs don't play beautiful football, but I think to kind of go back on that theory, it's the same theory as you were kind of explaining with Odegaard and Havertz. I mean, not saying that one plays ugly football or whatever, but I think nowadays, like you and I grew up on the Odegaard, we would love Odegaard with a like Thiago or whatever in the midfield, you know what I mean? Like player that we really like. So but now I think you have to be more effective. So I think that is the main thing. Like Fulham has always played. Marco Silva is a very good coach. He'll probably be in the top six team. So they've always going to play beautiful football. Are the players effective enough to make that beautiful football kind of look, effective? Because you can play and move the ball around all you want, and then in the final third, you're just not effective enough, which is what's pretty much happening with Fulham and most of the teams, as we say. I think it's a couple things. It's not that they don't have the striker, but it's also like the way teams play. You have to look at that, and then also the qualities of these teams as well. So two things. That's kind of a big thing for what we'd say most teams at the moment. So that's why I'm kind of giving everyone grace because I think up until this match week, especially with Liverpool losing, you're in Chelsea and United kind of like a little gap at the moment, which is still not even a big enough gap. I think it's the only time where the league is kind of form and shape, you know what I mean? Kind of separate in itself. That's why I'm
Yeah.
not so hard on these teams because I kind of understand like a couple results for them will kind of move them up a bit and then we'll probably have a different feeling about them. I mean, look at Manchester United, right?
Let's see how next. I mean, Fulham plays City next match weeks. I don't. It just gets harder for them. But, next up, Wolves Chelsea. Chelsea winning 3-1. I'll let you go ahead and take the reins off this. I'm sure you watched the game.
Crazy. I was busy. I was traveling for this one as well. From back from a game, so I wasn't able to watch, but I was able to catch like the extended highlights and most of it, I guess, from just watching clips and stuff. It looked like a decent game. I think what it reminded me of, I don't know If you remember that 6-1 win where we went there the other like a couple years ago and Nani Madueke scored a hat trick. But yeah, it was a very similar game with two penalties that it's just they're definitely penalties, but you could never understand why the defenders would make the tackles. Push, the second one was a push in the back where it was like the edge of the 18. I'm talking about in the corner of the right, probably closer to the like, he's not going towards goal. His body shape is kind of actually going more towards a corner flag. And the defender coming in from behind just pushes him. And then the first one was also on the left side. Well, not on the right side, but on the left side. And his body was also going out of the box. He was trying to take the touch out, and the defender missed tackle and caught his leg, and two goals from the penalty, and then a nice work ball down the left side with Cucurella, Enzo, and Cole Palmer scored the first half a hat trick, I should say. Sorry. So yeah, it was a solid day for us, a better first half from what I'm seeing, and then kind of just took our foot off the gas in the second half when we should have probably went more for the game, but considering it being 3-0 at halftime, mentally how that could be. So, yeah, a good performance for us and still kind of like happy just for the new manager, 'cause especially with all the stuff that's been going on in the media in terms of, how he's seen and stuff. So, yeah, impressive, I would say, impressive start, but let's see how he continues and how he managed those other difficult games, especially the run that we're about to go on.
Yeah. Um, I agree with you, man. I think we said before. I mean, I predicted Chelsea to win 4-0. So I think we definitely thought that this game was going to go in that direction. And I think that it's a good result for Chelsea, and it's kind of it's 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 good in the sense that, I'm sure that they played well. I didn't watch the game, so that, that's always good for confidence. It's good that, Cole Palmer is, getting goals again. I think that he's very kind of critical to that team and influential. One of the top players in the league. So, when you have him kind of fit and firing, you have a chance to win any game, I think. So impressive result, impressive first half. And then, yeah, I agree with you. I think you can kind of see after a 3-0 first half, you can just see that, the team comes out in the second half and kind of takes their foot off the gas a little bit, which, I mean, you could attribute to a number of different things, whether it's fixture congestion or just natural human mentality or whatever you want to call it. But so I think it's a good victory for Chelsea. I think it makes it even more impressive. I know it's Wolves, but it makes it even more impressive that Liverpool lost and they, have a 4-point cushion in front of Liverpool. And then, obviously United won, so important to kind of stay close to them. And then Villa losing, gaining some points on them. So not a bad weekend for Chelsea and Chelsea fans, I think. Overall, very, very good. I'm sure that, you guys enjoy kind of seeing your team score goals and your rivals around you dropping points. So very impressive and very good.
Yes, sir. Like you said, Cole Palmer back on the goal scoring sheet for us is always impressive. Not even impressive, but just always genuinely happy. Makes
Yeah.
us happy. So yeah, it was a good weekend for us.
Well, that takes us into the last game of Saturday, and it was a 5-goal thriller at St. James Park. Newcastle losing 2-3 to what seems like probably the most informed team in the Premier League, Brentford. Very, very, very impressive from Brentford. We've sung their praises all season. I mean, losing players, losing a manager, appointing, a set piece coach as your main as your manager and to do what they're doing, I think is very impressive. I think, the fact that I know you said earlier that Newcastle's been up and down, and I agree with you, but I think it's still a tough place to go regardless of their form. I think, they're a very, very physical team, and, they kind of always play that way. So I think it's tough. It's tough to kind of keep up with them in that sense, but Brentford get 3 goals and, get one late on to win the game. Brilliant, brilliant result for them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you have to give them credit. I mean, Newcastle is never easy for any one of us to go to. We all know have that experience, so we're not taking that away from them. It's just been a kind of a season of up and down for Newcastle, I'd say. Finishing in the Champions League last places last season to be in 12th right now, on 33 points, like we mentioned earlier, after 25 match weeks. It's kind of, definitely a big drop off for them, but like you said, still a tough place to go. So we have to give credit to Brentford and also tied on points right now with Liverpool. So, definitely a good season for them. Not the season I can tell you that they had imagined that they would be having with their set piece coach. So Yeah, good result for them. Just sold Thiago, so I wasn't too upset because I had João Pedro and Ekitike, but Ekitike blanked this week, so guess I could have kept Thiago for that one.
I watched bits and pieces of this game, kind of in and out, to be honest. But it was kind of a thrilling game every time I watched. Every time I laid my eyes on the TV, it seemed like it was action packed. But I'm happy for Brentford, man. I'm honestly genuinely happy for them. A team that is not new to the Prem, but newer in sense of like. They're one of the teams that's come up and stayed up in the last, 4 or 5 years or however long it's been since they came up. But genuinely happy for them. I'm happy that they find themselves where they are in the table. I'd say the only person that I kind of feel for in this situation is Thomas Frank. I feel like he deserved to kind of have that type of season with them, and unfortunately for him, it's just kind of
But we
completely the
don't know if
opposite.
they would be having that season, so
Yeah,
football is very unpredictable. So I think
yeah,
just Brentford in general, he can still for sure get the credit because obviously he laid the foundation for all of that. So I'm sure he's still, they're still grateful for the work that he did, but we still don't know if they'd be having the season. So credit to them, credit to Keith Andrews, and long may it continue for them.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that takes us into the last two games, Sunday games. First up was the Brighton Palace game, and Brighton kind of scuffed this one. Palace winning 1-0, which was kind of against both of our predictions. I mean, I predicted a 1-all draw, and you predicted a 1-0 Brighton win, and I think that probably had to do with Palace's form as of late, but it seems like, they were able to kind of turn that around and get a result. Sarr gets a goal. He's finally back. And yeah, overall, very good result for Palace.
Yeah, a tight game for sure. I think the game came from Brighton trying to push for a goal and then just leaving gaps. Was a really good goal, I would say, from Sarr. A nice ball played into him, and he just kind of used his pace and power to just drive through the middle there and just slot it in. So a good goal, a good game. I had Verbruggen in my fantasy, so obviously wanted Brighton to hold out there for the clean sheet, but wasn't available. Either way, I think it was more of like a tight game, obviously with the scoreline suggesting right there with 1-0. And it just came from Brighton, I would say, pushing for a goal. Good for Palace, obviously with the run that they've been on. So I'm sure that they're happy with that. And also a clean sheet for them.
Yeah. And I think they needed that. I mean, that if they would have lost this game, they would have been level down there with Spurs and Leeds. So, obviously not too much of a distance, but I think it's good that, they were able to pick up some points and, overcome Brighton, push them under them. And we'll see kind of how they bounce back from these last few weeks that they've kind of struggled in. But that takes us into the big one, the Liverpool City game at Anfield. 2-1 for City.
What a free kick from Soboslai. As you know, I
Yeah.
had him in my fantasy, and then dude went on to get a red card. I honestly did not see this comeback coming on from City, but I mean, I think it was. I would say it's kind of it's. I don't know. I'm still kind of. I know people are praising City and whatnot, but I still think from watching this game, it wasn't even. I wouldn't say it was a fantastic performance from them or even Liverpool itself, but it just made the game interesting. Obviously, with those late goals, a good assist from Holland to Silva, and then the penalty there. And then I honestly thought that they were gonna stick with that on-field call with the red card there at the end, but they didn't. So, yeah, it just made the game interesting. I think it was an interesting game, kind of more of on the City, I would say, started a bit more dominant than Liverpool, but Liverpool grew into the game and started to create chances as the game grew. And yeah, obviously finding the goal there from the free kick, what a goal it was as well. And then yeah, like we said, the Holland assist there from kind of nothing, I would say, really. And just kind of revived the spirit, I would say, probably in City, sorry. And then yeah, I don't know. I saw Robbie obviously on the Arsenal fan TV, or I'm not sure if it's Arsenal fan TV or whatever, but I saw him speaking and was just saying that a lot of Liverpool fans still consider Alisson to be the best or the number one, and he was just like, with those mistakes, you can't really consider him to be number one anymore. So I don't know, but I don't know. I think it was kind of like the Wolves penalty, but also 50-50 in terms of like you could let it go, but I could see why the goalie's trying to come out and make a tackle because I don't think it was. I mean, all of those penalties are not really them trying to get the player really right. It's just them missing the ball. and then getting the players. So yeah, it was kind of yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't say it was something where City was sublime and they deserved to win. I think it was just City won the game, and that's all I could take from that game, to be honest, even watching the whole full game.
Yeah, I agree with you to a certain extent. I think, I didn't watch the first half, so I didn't really get to see City's dominance, but I'd say Liverpool up until the point where City scored, I think Liverpool was dominant over City in the second half. So maybe kind of like a flip of the first half based off of, looking at the momentum chart and what you're saying. But it was interesting because I thought a Liverpool goal was coming just because of that dominance in the second half. And then they get the free kick, and after the free kick, I just didn't based off of Liverpool's dominance in the second half up until that point, I didn't see City coming back. And then, like you said, they kind of got a goal from nothing with the Holland flick into Bernardo Silva there. And I think it's tough to blame Allison on that goal, but then the game kind of flipped, and City, kind of realized that they could possibly win it after getting that goal. And they started pushing forward, and then obviously got the penalty, which it's interesting because I messaged you about this about the penalty that was overturned for Arsenal and Newcastle. And it's it's funny for me because you know I thought that the Arsenal one was a penalty, and I still do. And then I look at this one, and I think if I think that one's a penalty, I think that this one has to be a penalty, right? But there was a lot of questionable decisions in this game. The Gahey yellow card with the pull on Salah, I thought that me personally, I thought that should have been a red. I don't think Ruben Diaz was covering him or was able to cover him. And then, just kind of looking at it, I think that's a dog so for sure. But that's just me personally again. But regardless of the refereeing decisions, I don't want to kind of focus on that. What I want to focus on is I was looking at this after the fact, after the game finished, and I was looking at it and I thought that this game, one game, I think kind of or one half of football, this second half of football that I watched, I think kind of defines Liverpool's season this season. And I say that in the sense of, obviously most of the teams, if not almost all the teams that they play in the Premier League, um, they really suffocate them, and they push them back into their 18 at periods in the game. And then at any other periods, they're so quick to sort of to break out. It's like they only know how to play at one speed. And I think that that hurts them sometimes. Like, they get the goal, which they were pressing for to get the goal. They're at home. I'm okay with. And then after they get the goal, they had a brief period where they're still kind of going at that speed, right? And I think that that kind of just is the epitome of their season this season. I think it's kind of why they've dropped so many points is the fact that I think their game management has not been what it was previously. And for me, it's always weird because I think back to last season, right? And they were good last season. They tapered off towards the end a little bit, but they kind of already won the league. But I think that teams just weren't able to keep pace with them. And I think now teams have realized, of going to play that all out, attacking football, all guns blazing, everyone kind of going forward. And it's just waiting for the right time to kind of capitalize on them. And I don't think City did it intentionally in this game. I think it just, like we said, that first goal kind of came out of nowhere. But after they scored that first goal, I think it gave them all the confidence to realize, hey, we can put some pressure on them. And they did. And eventually they got the penalty, and they ended up winning the game. And I think it does this game winning, at Anfield. I think it does City huge amounts of confidence going forward. I mean, I think we could see by their celebrations kind of, after the second goal, and definitely after the full time whistle, I think we could see that what it really meant for them. So, obviously not good for us, and at the Arsenal camp, but for City, I think it was a brilliant game. I think everyone kind of forgets that Liverpool domination up until the first City goal because of the fact that they won the game and they come away with the 3 points.
Yeah, I think like you said, they just don't have the legs anymore to play the kind of football that they want to play. So you kind of have to adapt. Van Dijk just hasn't looked like himself. Allison, we've touched on. There's been periods that they talk about they need kind of like a midfielder that is a destroyer. I know they have Gravenberch, but like you said, everyone just kind of wants to go forward. So at times you kind of just leave that space. You don't really have a true six to sit and protect those, defenders that we just touched on that just don't look like themselves this season. We don't know if it's the legs going or it's just a rough season. But yeah, like you said, yeah, they just don't have the legs to play that ball that they want to play. So teams are becoming smarter to it. I mean, teams have always kind of, been smart at picking them off at some points. Like you said, we've seen it last season, towards the end of the season, and some points in the season as well, because they did lose games. So we did see it. So it's just, I guess now, signing the new defenders that they have, it would be interesting kind of see how they mold those defenders in with Van Dijk and if Renate's at the club still next season, because they've just signed, I know that French defender Jacket or Jacquet, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think just bringing those players in, it would be interesting to kind of see how those players adapt and what the future will be for them. But they just don't have the legs to play the football that they want to.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that kind of rounds off the match week 25. It was an exciting one. I think there was drama kind of everywhere. Hopefully more of that in match week 26, which is a midweek match week. But yeah, I think we're ready for the predictions.
Team of the week. Who's your team of the week?
Team of the week, yes. Ah, man, it's a tough one. I think we gave it to Brentford last week, so I think we got to go somewhere else. I don't know, man. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I don't know either, bro. I'm kind of
I want to say United, maybe.
okay. Now the
I
West
think
Ham,
United.
the one of those I don't care.
Yeah.
Tough because,
I
like,
I
yeah, a good
I'd
performance from United, so I can agree with
yeah.
you. I'll go with
Yeah. I
United.
Yeah, yeah. It's a tough one. I mean, it was an exciting match week, but there wasn't like any teams that really like kind of stood out,
Yeah,
and you know what I mean. So I don't know.
yeah,
I go United just because I think that their performance was good the whole game.
yeah. I think they had a good performance as well.
Yeah. Let's get into it. Tuesday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. Chelsea Leeds. What are we doing?
Coming for revenge, bro. 3-1.
I like that. I like that. Saying the reverse score. I like that. I want to copy you on that. I'm gonna copy you on that 3-1. Everton, Bournemouth, tough game.
Yeah, this one is a tough one to predict. I think Everton at home and the confidence that they've had from recent result, I'm gonna go. I'll go I'll go 2-0 Everton actually.
Okay. Yeah. I want to give it to Everton too. I'm gonna go 1-0. Spurs, Newcastle. Interesting game. I think Spurs win this game. I think they kind of bounce back. They have to. I'm gonna go 3-1 Spurs.
I'm going the opposite. I'm gonna go 2-1 Newcastle. Messi
Okay.
and Romero. I think this weakens them even more.
Well, I think that assures them that they won't be able to get a red card, so they'll play with 11.
You never know. Never know.
West Ham United, interesting game. Do they make it 5 in a row?
I think they do. I'm gonna go 2-0 United.
Okay, I like that. I'm actually gonna copy on that one too. I like 2-0 United. Villa Brighton, another interesting game. Do Villa bounce back after 2 consecutive games of dropping points? What do you think?
Home. I think Villa. I'm gonna go 1-1 in this.
Okay. I'm gonna go 2-1 Villa. Palace Burnley. Giving it to Palace?
Just just by a goal, I'll go 2-1.
Okay. I'm gonna go 2-0. City Fulham. This was an exciting goal thriller, Craven Cottage earlier in the season. What are you thinking?
I'm going 3-0 here. See.
Yeah, I like that result. I've copied you twice, so I'm not gonna copy you here again. I'm stuck between 4-0 and 3-1, but I don't want it to seem like,
I think
I think
3-1 is
City's.
more realistic.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you. Forest Wolves.
I'm just praying for Wolves to make it interesting by beating them. Man, I just want Wolves. I hope Wolves beat them. I'm gonna go 2-1 Wolves.
Okay.
Hopefully it comes through.
I'm gonna go 2-2. Sunderland Liverpool, interesting game. Tough game for Liverpool, I think. What are you thinking?
I was scrolling by some dude's TikTok earlier today, and it was like live doing the prediction, and this man had 3-0 Sunderland. Yo, I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm laughing, but it's just like, wow, bro, if that happens, I mean, I'd be happy. I'm a Chelsea fan, obviously, and they're behind us at the moment, just so. But I'm still gonna go. I think they made it Arsenal. They made it hard for Arsenal, I should say. So I'm gonna go. How about I go? I'm gonna go Sunderland 2-1.
Sunderland 2-1. All right, I'm gonna go 2-1 the other way. 2-1 Liverpool. Last game, a tough game for Arsenal. What are you thinking?
Brentford Arsenal. That's at Brentford. That's gonna be yeah. I think they're gonna make it difficult for Arsenal. I still think Arsenal will win, so I'm gonna go 3-1.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we have to win. I think it'll be a very, very difficult game. I want to say 2-1 Arsenal. Yeah. All right. Well, that kind of rounds it off. Match week 25 done. Looking ahead to 26, and then I think there's I don't know, is it an FA Cup break next weekend?
Yeah, I
I
think there
think
might be.
Yeah.
Well,
All
you
right.
guys have a
Well,
make a picture.
yeah, I think we play midweek after the FA Cup against Wolves. So I'll be interested to see how we kind of schedule that in the pod. Do we actually, I mean, we'll do another pod before, so we'll probably throw that fixture in there with the other ones too. Yeah. Yeah, we'll do it then.
Yes, sir.
We'll leave it at this for this one. All right, my guy, 25 done and dusted. Any closing remarks?
No, sir. Let's hope we beat Leeds tomorrow. I'm off, so I'll be able to watch the games tomorrow. Yeah, I can watch most of the games this week. I'll watch tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. Some
Nice.
interesting games. Interesting to see how United continue if they make it five in a row. Also, like I said, with that, I know that's down at the other bottom. Wolves, versus Forest as well, and Arsenal also going away to Brentford and City of
Yeah.
Fulham. So yeah, interesting game.
Interesting games all around. I agree. All right, my brother. I will talk to you after Thursday.
Yes, sir.